everybody. It is Wednesday, August 5th, and this is episode number 4 of the Hardcore Smarks, a show where a couple of know-it-all smart marks talk about their hardcore obsessions. I'm your host, Zachary, and with me, as always, is JayBone, Stretch, and Wally5. This week, our obsession is going to be curling. We talk about curling the entire episode. It's something I'm super passionate about. Actually, I'm not even kidding. I love curling, so that's not what we're talking about. We'll be talking about the best matches from 2010 to present day, wrestling matches, wrestling business. As always. Hey, guys.
Gotta clarify.
How are we doing?
Good. Fantastic.
Another day in paradise.
There it is. Have to love it. So once again, no small talk this week. We're just going to jump right into it.
I am back in my own abode this week.
Yeah, he's not in my back room anymore.
The sweat box.
Yeah, he escaped.
I am not in the sweat box anymore.
He got out while I was sleeping, so.
It was fun, though. I can at least say it was fun to go there. That's our small talk. It was fun to go see this. It was fun to go see Stretch. We had a good time when I was there.
Perfect. So let's just jump right in. We got a lot to cover. So let's start naming off our 5 through 2 best matches from 2010 present day. JayBone, do you want to start us off this week?
Number 5 is Johnny Gargano versus Ciampa in TakeOver Chicago, the Chicago Street Fight. Number 4, I got Sami Zayn versus Nakamura, NXT TakeOver Dallas. Number 3, I got John Cena versus Seth Rollins, SummerSlam 2015. Number 2, I got Kenny Omega versus Okada, Wrestle Kingdom 11. I believe that's from 2018. And
that's good.
That's it.
That's good. Yeah.
Yep. All right, Stretch, go ahead.
So number 5, it actually changed like right about an hour ago. I made a quick swap on my list and moved one of my honorable mentions to my main list. So my number 5 is Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne from TakeOver Chicago, where Pete Dunne won the belt. Number 4 was from this year, the Bucks versus Omega and Hangman from AEW Revolution. 3 was Gargano and Almas from TakeOver Philadelphia. And 2 was Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke from TakeOver Dallas.
All right, I'll go next. I have at number 5, NXT TakeOver War Games Chicago 2019. Also at number 4, I have Bucks Omega and Paige from Revolution AEW. Number 3, I have Bayley versus Banks NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2015. And then coming in at number 2, I have it's going to be Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano NXT TakeOver 25.
So I have my number 5 is my Spot Fest. So I have the 6-man ladder match from TakeOver New Orleans. Number 4, I have the match on my shirt, Sasha versus Bayley from TakeOver Brooklyn 1. Number 3, I have Nakamura and Sami Zayn from TakeOver Dallas. And number 2, I have the Bucks versus Hangman and Omega from AEW Revolution.
All right, some solid lists. So let's just dive right in. Wally, why don't you start us off with your number 5? Let's dive into it. Let's see what we got.
That's my favorite NXT match of all time. I just can't put a Spot Fest any higher than 5.
So funny story. Wally and I talked on the phone yesterday or a couple days ago or whatever. We had that exact same conversation, and that match was my number 5. And because of that conversation, I switched it for Dunne and Bate.
It's hard for me to that. Me and Zach were watching that match together. And some of my other friends were blowing my phone up during that match. I have never gotten more text messages during a wrestling match in my whole life. It was just every 5 minutes I was getting it. So I will always remember that match just because it was like everybody was watching it. We all had to be communicating during it because it was so amazing. And it's the best ladder match I've ever seen. I mean, whether Adam Cole won or not, I mean, obviously that's a bonus for me. But Adam Cole did do the Adam Cole baby on the ladder after he won at the end of the match too. So, and my favorite part in that match is when EC3 tries to do the Adam Cole baby, and then he's like, no. And that's why Adam Cole didn't do it when he came out, because he knew he was going to do it during the match. So he he didn't do it when he got in the ring because there was already people in the ring. So he actually didn't do it until EC3 tried to make fun of him and do it. That was Ricochet's debut. He was amazing in that match. That's one of the few times we got to see EC3 do anything relevant in NXT. It was just, even Killian Dane, even good old Lars Sullivan played his part. Like, he didn't ruin the match. That's what he could have done, is he could have ruined the match, and he didn't.
All 6 men showed up to work.
I was just about to say, you talked about Ricochet's debut in WWE and NXT as a whole. His first move that he did as a WWE/NXT superstar was a springboard shooting star press to the outside. So that kind of set the bar right there for that match. Like, holy shit, this is going to be good.
I think the fans just didn't want Lars to win. I think maybe Killian a little bit, but I think if any of the other 4 people had won, I think the fans would have been fine with any of the other 4 winning. I don't think that like I said, I'm glad Cole won. It was clearly the right thing to do at that point. But that is my favorite NXT match. It's just not, I can't give it the best match, but it's my favorite match.
That's definitely a great match. And Cole may have taken the title, but I think Ricochet stole the show on that one. And it just goes to show once again, there's a bright shining star that WWE is totally underutilizing. So,
do you want somebody else to talk about their number 5?
Yeah, let's keep it going. Stretch.
Yeah. So again, I actually watched this match today again it's one of my favorite matches of all time, just because I love both competitors. I'm a huge Pete Dunne fan. So Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne for the UK Championship at TakeOver Chicago. Just so much chemistry between these two guys. They'd fought on the Indies so many times before even signing to WWE. The amount of like crazy moves that they do and counters and everything, and the British strong style where they just beat the shit out of each other. At one point, Pete Dunne tries the bitter end, like the pump handle flatliner he does as his finisher, and Tyler Bate reversed it into a beautiful DDT and just spikes Dunne on his head, and it looks so believable. What else? At one point, Tyler Bate does a corkscrew 450. Like, who the hell thought that he had that in him? Like, and it was the start of Pete Dunne's, I think it was like 685-day reign as UK champion. So that was the start of it all right there. And like, it's nonstop from start to finish. These guys, it's a shorter match than most, like on a top 5 list. I think it's somewhere like 17 minutes, 18 minutes, something like that, which is relatively short for like one of the better matches. But they jam a lot in there.
They stole the show at that
They
takeover.
really did.
They stole the show, and they were the opening. I believe they might have been the opening bout.
Second
bout.
Mm-hmm.
So they won the Chicago crowd over.
They really did. Great match.
Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I went with Gargano versus Ciampa, the Chicago street fight. I really liked that match. Like I said, they literally beat the shit out of each other in that match. Like I said, the ending's kind of cool with Gargano. Kind of flips out and just starts beating Ciampa up. And like I said, I think he jumps off that dumpster or whatever it is in the back, and ends up handcuffing Ciampa. And he keeps going after him, and Ciampa still gets the pinfall. You know, his hands were handcuffed. So, yeah, I really like that match. So I almost went with the New Orleans match between those two, but
one of the better feuds in NXT that never really got a proper payoff because of injuries, and then they had that cinematic match a couple months back. Wasn't really the proper finish for that feud.
Nope,
definitely wasn't. That was almost like. I'm going to use a basketball reference. That match was almost when Jordan came back and played for the Wizards. I felt
a wet fart.
Yes. So it kind of was because their trilogy of matches is really good too. That kind of ruined it a little bit, in my opinion. That's just the ending for that match was good, but the match itself was kind of lackluster for what I think our expectation was. So Jay brought up the New Orleans match. That one's great just because of the crowd. The crowd when his music is not playing and they're chanting "fuck you, Ciampa," that is priceless shit.
Yep.
That is priceless shit. And Ciampa was eating it up too. Like
just
he was
feeding.
he was eating it up. He was loving every second of that.
You know, you're good at your job when you don't need any entrance music.
No, the entrance music was the tears of the crowd. They just hated him. That's actually one of my honorable mentions. So I'll just, because we're talking about, I'll just kind of just throw in a couple more comments just real quick. It's just basically, as was every match that they had, it's just some best friends trying to murder each other every time they go out there. And just every time, it's just some of the most brutal wrestling you've ever seen. It's just 5-star matches all around with those guys.
That the New Orleans one is one of the few times where Gargano is like the crowd is legitimately cheering for Gargano. There hasn't been a lot of times when he's been the person of choice in the match. That was the one time he got a huge pop like in that match because
put up against a human heat missile
because everybody hated Ciampa. So it was nice to see Gargano because I'll wait until when somebody talks about the one that me and Zach went to that match. When that match comes up, I'll talk about that some more.
Yeah, then the last thing I'm going to just toss in, because this is probably Ciampa doesn't get as much love as he maybe deserves on this list, but kind of his fault for getting injured so much. Just that's my point. Is like, how high would he have gone if he could have stayed healthy? Right. Not his fault. I'm joking around, but it's one of those things where it's like, I wonder what could have been.
So does he. He's sitting on the sidelines tweeting at WWE that he's pissed.
Yeah.
What was your number 5, Zach?
My number 5 is NXT TakeOver War Games, the Chicago 2019 one. This is kind of my cheat answer because it includes so many of my favorites. So, I get Cole in there, I get Ciampa in there, I get some KO in there, some other guy who won't be named in there. But
that's my first honorable mention. That's one of my honorable mentions.
I put as a series all 3 War Games matches that NXT has put on as an honorable mention.
That's a fair point, but because I kind of thought about that too, but I would also think this is the best of the 3, so that's why I singled this one out. But just from the start, you have Undisputed coming out with 4 belts, and that's just unlike anything else we've ever seen before. That was just a badass moment that just kind of set off the kind of the tone for the whole night going forward. Ciampa, of course, just being a maniac, and then just the the mystery 4th for the team and it being KO, and just the huge pop he gets from the audience is just nuts.
And the look on Cole's face when Owens comes out is priceless.
With his original duct tape KO NXT shirt.
Yeah.
Just overall, we could talk about just Spot Fest, but this actually had a lot of wrestling in it. But you obviously have to mention the end of that with Ciampa and Cole just doing one of the sickest spots I've ever seen when it's from the top of the cage, air raid through the 2 tables. And it's a good thing that's how they ended the match because I'm pretty sure that was going to be it no matter what. But just fantastic. And, of course, we do get to see a cameo from AEW superstar Britt Baker in the audience. So that's always a nice little
quote, Adam Cole's bonus. Girlfriend.
Yeah.
It was cool when Owens took the Panama Sunrise in between the rings.
On the metal, yeah. On the
metal. That was cool. Owens and Cole are really good friends, in real life. So it was kind of cool for that moment. I had been waiting to see Owens and Cole in the ring together in WWE for a long time. So whether they're on opposite sides, I still got to see them.
Did you have to change your pants afterward?
Maybe. I was at work, so somebody texted me. One of my friends texted me, and so I was in the back room at work trying to pull up the WWE Network on my phone to see Kevin Owens. I'm like, holy shit.
And hate for him aside, Lee actually puts up a decent showing. He does his job. He comes into, wreck shop, and that's exactly what he does. That's his role.
He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything spectacular.
He doesn't, but even still a good show though.
It makes me wonder because Riddle was supposed to be on that team, but then he got pulled last minute because of injuries, and he fought Finn right at that pay-per-view because Gargano got hurt. So I wonder what impact Riddle would have made if he was on the team.
Yeah, definitely. It's something to kind of wonder. Let's go move on to our number 4.
Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, I'll just take it right into it. So I have actually Stretch and I share this one. So let's go ahead and do it. We got Bucks versus Omega and Hangman Revolution. Just I had trouble ranking this one. It kind of kept going forth between this one and my other honorable mention, also with the Bucks and Omega, but it's just with the Golden Lovers. I kept kind of flip-flopping those the whole time. Settled on this one just because I think it has just a little bit better storytelling. Paige is fantastic as a heel in this thing. And then it's just a bunch of best friends putting on a hell of a show.
Mm-hmm.
That's my number 2. So
yeah, I rewatched this one again today just to get a feel for it again. I for sure was going to rank it in my top 5, but just to watch it again and just take it all in. the storytelling they have. Again, these 4 guys have wrestled, all over the place in Japan, everywhere together, Ring of Honor. And the story that they tell of 4 friends just beating the shit out of each other, as Zachary said, it's fantastic.
There's all kinds of chemistry with those 4 guys. Like, if those 4 guys ever went out and shit the bed, I don't think anybody would believe it. So I just think it's impossible to have arguably the best wrestler and the best tag team in the world in a match, and then Hangman, is good at what he does. So it's hard to imagine that match. That match is really good. That actually would be my match of the year for this year up to this point. I believe me and Stretch agreed on that the other day.
The promo work leading up to it too was great. How they sort of showed that Hangman wanted to do his own thing, and Kenny was kind of stuck in the middle of being with him or with the Bucks. And like some of the lines, like from Matt Jackson, one of the famous lines that he had in that program was to Hangman. He said, "You were a jobber in Ring of Honor until we took you in."
Oh wow!
So that just fueled the fire right there.
I have to give a shout out to Nick. He does some sick rope work where he just kind of runs around the top of the rope and then basically caps it off with a moonsault outside into the ring. It was just
he did the thing both him and Matt do where they'll do some move to take down a guy in the ring, and then they'll do like a cartwheel outside through the middle rope and then do a moonsault off the apron.
What's your number 4, JayBone?
I don't think we're going to talk about it. I think it's number 1 on Zach's list.
Okay. My number 4 is the best women's match I've ever seen between Sasha and Bailey at TakeOver Brooklyn. That match changed everything for women. So Lita and Trish several years ago kind of opened the door. I think that was the first really good women's match I've seen. But Sasha and Bailey, like me and Zach said, that's when the women's evolution really started with Sasha and Bailey.
Absolutely.
And look at them now. They hold all the gold now.
And now they're the golden role models. That Poison Rana or whatever they did off the top rope close to the end of that match is fucking amazing. Like Sasha looks like she gets hurt on that. So and
Sasha,
go ahead.
Sasha has a thing for taking nasty bumps on her head and neck all the time.
She does. And the curtain call for the 4 of them at the end was pretty cool. Like as a wrestling fan, the curtain call and them doing the 4, that was pretty cool. Like all that match just was. I felt bad for Finn and Owens having to go after that.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
Yeah, this is my number 3, so I'll just throw a couple things in here too real fast. Just once I guess you'd call it the finale starts, it's just a fireworks show. It's just nonstop, just bang, 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 bang. It does not let up. It's just brutal. Even outside of women's wrestling, this is just one of the best matches ever. I mean, obviously it's a top 5. I'd put this above some of the stuff we ranked last week too. It's amazing.
And that's why I think we all kind of want to see them on the main roster fight each other because we want to see what's left. Like, what can they do to top the best women's match most of us have ever seen? Like,
they've always teased it, but never gone full stop with it on the main roster.
Yeah, here we are. 5 years later, it's time for that rematch. Let's see where it takes them.
My number 3 we're skipping.
My number 3, we just talked about it, so go ahead, Stretch.
Okay.
My number 3 was Gargano and Almas from TakeOver Philly. Almas, up to this point, he had just won the title from Drew. So up to this point, beforehand, he was saddled with the party boy gimmick and, kind of like the playboy walking around with all these women and everything, which is kind of an injustice to him because in Mexico, when he had a mask on and was a luchador doing all this crazy shit, he was great. So it was kind of not a great start for him in NXT, but then he gets Zelina Vega with him and they sort of rework his character, make him this badass guy, under Zelina's rule. And him and Gargano just put on a banger of a match that for me never seemed to end, but that's not a bad thing in this situation. Like all the near falls and kickouts and everything and all the offense put in by these two guys. I hadn't seen them work before, together before, but they have great chemistry for that being my first time seeing them together.
And me and Zachary were in attendance.
Yes, that's the best match I've seen, or best match I've seen. It's a televised match. We'll get more into that here in a little bit. But
that we were there live for that, and that match was fucking amazing. It really was. And we were just waiting for what happened at the end after the match. We were all kind of waiting for that to happen too with Ciampa. Like we all kind of in our minds knew that was coming.
Of course, it was wonderful to see Candace getting involved fresh off of her signing, getting saving the day temporarily.
So many layers to that match.
Yep.
I feel like it's unfortunate because I feel like me and Zach missed by one takeover. We missed the best takeover of all time by one. We were at the one before Takeover New Orleans. I mean, the one we went to was good. It was probably top 5 maybe, but it wasn't Takeover New Orleans, so we missed by one. Just like me and Stretch missed by 1 week when we went to Full Sail. We went for the shitty episode, and then the following week, it was a good episode. So we keep missing by one.
Let's hope All Out isn't great this year, because then, I mean, it was good last year, don't get me wrong, but if it's, blows the doors off last year, we're going to feel real mad.
What's your number 3, Jay?
Mine is John Cena versus Seth Rollins, SummerSlam.
John Cena.
Yep.
Well, actually, Cena was in a lot of great matches that year because Kevin Owens and at the Elimination Chamber. Cena, I think, hit his prime that year because he was in for people that hated on Cena, they needed to watch him wrestle at least that year because I thought he was great.
They actually needed to watch him wrestle this whole decade because he had good matches with CM Punk.
Yeah.
He had good matches with AJ at SummerSlam. The Kevin Owens, like all the haters need to shut the fuck up about John Cena because even when I asked some of my other friends, pick out some matches since 2000, and John Cena's name kept popping up, and he was like the common denominator even in it was John Cena versus this person, John Cena versus. I mean,
I'm gonna run down just a few. I actually had him in a good amount of my honorable mentions. Punk and Cena, Money in the Bank 2011, Cena and Punk Raw in 2013, Cena and AJ from the Royal Rumble 2017, and Bryan and Cena from SummerSlam 2013.
And you could possibly make a case for the Cena Rollins Brock triple threat match too.
That was fantastic.
So anyway,
as well.
Sorry Jay, you can continue talking about Cena and Rollins. It was just nice. It was nice to hear Cena's name. It's nice to hear Cena get some credit.
Right. No, I just think it was a great match. The crowd's electric. Half the crowd's obviously, let's go Cena. The others, Cena sucks like usual. But I thought it was a great match. They had good chemistry. Both wrestlers were at the top of their game, like we just said. Seth was just kind of coming into that superstar status, and Cena was already there, and just had a bunch of cool spots in it. They wrestled for I think almost 25 minutes, and
Cena had a lot of chemistry with everybody.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like the ending with Jon Stewart, though. That's the only thing I had to probably ruined it a little bit.
That's probably why I don't remember that match as much because of the hokey ending with Jon Stewart.
So, yeah.
Cena had chemistry with everybody, and everybody knocks him. Like, I don't understand why you knock Cena. Like, I don't at this point. I think he deserves a lot of credit for – he did during some of the PG era. He, struggled a little bit. He was kind of like the 5-move Superman then. Yeah. But this decade rolled around, and some piece of him, he realized that he needed to get better, and he certainly did get better.
But he also has gripe is he just got stale. That's all. His character. That's the only bad thing
WWE would never pull the trigger on turning him heel.
Right, because of sales and all that stuff.
And to his credit, though, he has a willingness to put people over. He doesn't have that ego where it's like, I can't lose, I'm the greatest. It's like, I'm willing to put some – go ahead.
Unless you're the Nexus.
Guy.
Yeah.
Unless you're the Nexus, then he will not put you over.
I don't know about the Nexus. We'll talk about the Nexus and another one. We'll talk about that whole thing somewhere down the road. We already talked about my number 2, the Bucks
same here.
Hangman.
Or actually, my number 2 we can't talk about yet.
Okay, Zach.
All right, so with mine, I am also skipping it.
Okay, Jay, can we talk about your number 2?
Yeah, mine is Kenny Omega versus Okada, Wrestle Kingdom 11. Like I said, I just started getting into this New Japan wrestling, and Omega, I'm already intrigued by him, so I decided to watch a couple of these matches with Okada, and they're amazing. Every one of them's like 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
And the show they put on is just unbelievable. And
and And we're just now seeing, for people who don't watch New Japan and kind of their only exposure to Kenny Omega's AEW, we're just now probably about to see what the true Kenny Omega is. Because in New Japan, he was the cleaner, and he would just come out and wreck shop and ruin everybody. This badass dude. I feel like they're just starting to turn him into that now in AEW. Because him and Okada had 3-4 matches in a whole series. They're all fantastic, as you said, almost an hour long each one. Didn't he? This was the match where he came out dressed as the Terminator, right, beforehand?
Yeah, that mask or half mask.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's kind of slow at the beginning, but it slowly builds up. The last 15 minutes of that match is insane. It's just insane.
So I guess we're to our number ones then. Numero unos.
I can go for this one because mine kind of piggybacks off of JayBone's. My number one was Omega and Okada, but from Dominion in 2018 when Kenny finally won the belt from Okada. It's just the culmination of that series of matches, and the story they tell in the ring is just so interwoven with each other, and they work so well as a two-man back and forth, and they know each other's offense so well. And that final moment of Kenny finally winning the belt after trying four times versus Okada. Yeah. At Wrestle Kingdom, Okada won. Then they fought at Dominion that year at a draw. And then the G1 Climax, Omega won, but it was a non-title. And then Omega finally wins the title at Dominion. So it's just this culmination.
That's a 2 out of 3 falls, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That one goes damn near an hour as well. I think 59, 58 minutes or something like that. But just powerhouse match from start to finish.
Go ahead, Zach.
All right.
We're all waiting. This is one we're all waiting to talk about. So
shocker from me, with anyone who knows me, because I won't shut up about this match. It's Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura, TakeOver Dallas 2016. This is pretty significant for me because it was actually the first NXT match I saw ever at the recommendation of Wally. So it's also my introduction then, of course, to both Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura. This match just has my notes bear with me. I have a lot to say. Just going to start off. Somehow this wasn't the main event. So anything that came after it, they should apologize for it just because they definitely stopped the show after that. It's Sammy's last match before moving up, and it's Nakamura's debut match. On doing a little bit of researching this, they hadn't even sparred. This was literally the first time in the ring together in any capacity. And the fact that they could put on a match like this, to me, is crazy. But equally as important as the two gentlemen in the ring is the crowd. So this is also my introduction to the NXT crowd. And
the best crowd there is. The best wrestling crowd there is.
And they haven't been better before or since this, in my opinion. Before the match even starts, I have it written down here. We have the crowd chanting both their names, being hyped for both the guys as they come out with their entrances. You have a chant for holy shit. You have a yes chant, and there might have been even one other one. And that's, again, we haven't heard the bell yet. So the crowd is just on a whole nother level. And then, of course, as it starts, we get Nakamura just oozing charisma all over the place. It just leaks out of him, and he just elevates it just by just standing there and just glaring. And then just Sammy just doing what he does. Just he can take a beating and sell it. He's one of the best in the business for just getting just destroyed. And then again, going back to the crowd again, though, I also did a little bit of research on this. Couldn't quite find it definitively put, but I found a couple articles saying that this was the first time they heard it as well. This is perhaps the earliest Fight Forever chant, at least that was televised.
Yes.
That was the first Fight Forever. Now the chant has become watered down at times, but that was the first time I heard it, and it was legit, and it deserved that match. 100% deserved that chant.
Absolutely did. And then I just have a couple just two quick moments that I just want to point out. Just that I love every time is when Sammy dives out of the ring over the top rope, and he's just so into this match and has so much energy. He basically clears Nakamura. It's actually he was just so. He just took off and just flew through the air like a bat. It was amazing. And then, of course, to finish it off with the Kinshasa for the first time was just absolutely perfect.
The part where they're punching each other for 2 minutes is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Because people try to do that, it worked. It doesn't always work, but when the crowd is as hype as the crowd was that night, they just kept punching, and you're like, when is this going to end? And the crowd was doing like usually they do the boo, yay. They weren't really doing it as much in that
yay,
one
yay.
because the crowd was like kind of split for that one. The electricity when the lights went out before Nakamura came out, that was like just legitimate wrestling crowd electricity before.
Also,
Go ahead.
We'll probably talk about it in the future on a future podcast episode, but one of the finest pieces of wrestling entrance music we'll ever hear was debuted here.
The only thing I can compare this to for me personally, when the lights go out before Nakamura came out, was like the same thing when The Rock came back, when they introduced him as the special guest host and they made everybody sit there and think about it for like 2 minutes with the lights off. This was comparable to that for me because I was this was the first time I had seen Nakamura. I had not seen him.
Same here.
And I was sold. Entrance, I'm sold. I didn't even see him wrestle. I'm sold on the entrance because when we do talk about it, his entrance is fucking amazing. So like it is just everything. There is nothing bad about his entrance except when they changed the music, they tweaked the music. But
they made him heel so the fans wouldn't chant along with it.
It was really cool how Sammy just like sat in the corner when Nakamura came out and let him have his moment. Like it was class. It was like a class wrestling acts being in the ring. Everything about that match just screamed classy wrestling participants, great crowd, everything you want in a great match. That match checked all the boxes twice.
Yeah, and they shook hands after the match too. So,
Yeah, shook hands. Then Sammy gets his moment in the ring, kind of say goodbye to NXT. So it's just a really cool moment.
On WWE Shop ordering my Strong Style shirt that night. Yeah. I can 100% unequivocally guarantee you I was purchasing my shirt that night, pre-ordering it.
And looking where they both are at now on the main roster, granted Nakamura is a tag champ now, and Sammy was IC champ before the whole pandemic and everything. But, man, WWE really dropped the ball on those guys.
They 100%. Yep. Nakamura is – both of them are amazing. They're amazing talents. I'm really glad that JayBone watched that match and appreciates it as much as we do. I'm glad.
Because I didn't like Sammy for the longest time. It took me a while to warm up to him.
God, I love Sammy so much.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I just watched in another one of my honorable mentions. I'll get to it in a second. But I was watching Survivor Series from last year, and when they had the triple threat with AJ and Sammy and Roddy, when Nakamura comes out and Sammy was his manager at the time, just freaking the fuck out to his music and headbanging and shit. Like you gotta love that. Yeah. Like Sammy just gets so into his part. Like
yes, he does.
What's your number one, Jay?
Mine's Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole, TakeOver New York. 2 out of 3 pinfalls.
That's a piggyback to mine. So me and Jay both. Mine is the whole series between Gargano and Cole.
And then I'll quick throw in my number 2. I didn't want to talk about it quite yet because it's part of yours, but would be for mine it's 25, TakeOver 25 with those two guys.
So is that the one Jay picked? The 2 out of 3 falls where Gargano won?
No, this is just this is the one where Cole wins the belt.
Okay.
And TakeOver 25 was in my honorable mentions, so have at it.
Yep.
These two guys, like this is essentially. I feel like I'm doing the list from a week ago. Because I think Gargano and Cole are the 2 best workers in NXT.
100%.
No slight to Finn or Ciampa or anybody. I think Cole and Gargano are the 2 best workers in that company. So I couldn't not take as good as the Ciampa Gargano trilogy was. This one topped that, and I don't think any of us who like Gargano and Ciampa and watched those 3 matches. I don't know if any of us really thought because this was almost the fallback because Ciampa got hurt. Mm-hmm. So Cole kind of moved in the spot, and then they ended up having a better 3-match set than Ciampa and Gargano did. And I love Adam Cole, but I'm biased to him. I don't think the general public necessarily thought Cole and Gargano were going to do this. And the one from the TakeOver New York the night before WrestleMania, that is probably the best of the 3 matches. I'm just more partial to the other 2 because Cole won the other 2.
Well, you gotta think it's crazy that you had just said it, this all kind of happened and got kicked into motion because Ciampa got hurt. So Cole kind of got moved up because he was the next logical contender. But then he becomes the longest reigning NXT champion, and WWE finally realized, like, man, maybe this guy is marketable. Like, we could go roll with this for a bit.
I've talked with Wally about this a little bit, but I would like, I would call them the modern day Michaels and Hart, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
And even the TakeOver like New York match the night before I went to WrestleMania, that crowd was pro Adam Cole. Like that, I just watched the match like 5 days ago. That match was pro Adam Cole. So once again, Gargano was the face, and he really wasn't. Nobody was. I'm not saying nobody, but the crowd was more Cole. I watched it. I mean, I listened to the crowd. They were booing when Gargano was punching and cheering when Cole was punching. So like that's a pretty good measuring stick for it. So that crowd was very pro. I feel bad for Gargano because I think when he was a face, like even when we went to see Andrade and Gargano, I thought he should have been more over there than he was. So I feel bad for him because I don't think he's ever, other than that one match with Ciampa, he's ever been like 90% of who, people were rooting for in a match. Because fighting Adam Cole, you're 50% of the people are rooting for the Undisputed Era automatically, unless you're fighting Fat Ass. Apparently, for some reason, Fat Ass gets more cheers than Adam Cole, which explain that one to me.
Well, that's that series of matches. They had I alluded to it earlier, but another series of matches that had great promo work done in it. One of my favorite promos from that series, I don't remember where exactly it was placed in their series, but it was when Adam Cole went to Johnny Gargano's dad's pizzeria in Ohio and just basically shit on the business, shit on his son, like, basically saying how bad he was going to beat his son. And didn't he say something like he pointed to a picture of Gargano on the wall? He's like, you need to change that to an Adam Cole picture or something like that.
So when me and Zach, we actually saw a dark match with these guys. Like and they actually showed that promo when we went to the NXT house show. And the dark match with these guys was fucking fabulous.
Yeah, so I call it the NXT TakeOver Ghetto of Cleveland show.
NXT TakeOver Agora?
Yes, the Agora. And just, honestly, for a hot second, I wanted to put this in my top 5, but you can't really get to a non-televised match. But honestly, I think it's their best match, and it wasn't even televised.
Candice came out and did a Poison Rana to Adam Cole during the match. It was fucking amazing. Like, it is just a testament. So, like, here's where this series really wins. Me and Zach saw the house show match, and it was fucking amazing, whereas Ciampa and Gargano, their fourth match was – so this is where they win the battle because that house show match was fabulous. So, and I'm so glad me and Zach got to go see that because I'm like, oh my God, this is so fucking good.
So, JayBone, what makes that match your number one? Like, what are some of your takeaways?
Like I said, it was a real long match. I think it was close to 45 minutes.
45, 50 minutes,
mm-hmm.
There's a ton of false finishes. I'm a sucker for those, if they're done right. And like I said, they have a bunch of chemistry. I think Gargano is one of those guys that he kind of blends in with, a lot of wrestlers and fits in where, he just has chemistry with them. So, I just think it's a great match. A lot of good moves, a lot of energy.
It is a really good.
It's rare to find a bad Gargano match that's an actual match and not a cinematic match.
I mean, same thing with Cole. It's hard to find a bad Cole match. I still remember
you put two of those guys together, it's gonna be great.
I still remember Cole's match with Riddle, the first night like NXT was on USA. That match kicked ass. So like you're almost guaranteed. That's why that alludes to why the upcoming takeover. I'm worried because we need Gargano, we need Finn, we need Cole on that card, and if you're not going to put those guys on that card, you're asking for trouble.
Then I'm going to talk a bit more about 25 just real quick because this is my number 2. Have to throw in just an amazing entrance with Cole. He has a Josiah Williams.
Yeah, he wraps him.
Just wrapping him in. Oh, it's just a thing. Like to stretch this, I think episode 2. Chef's kiss is just added so much to that match. And then there's a moment in that where Gargano does a suicide dive out the ring, gets super kicked, and then basically gets immediately Panama Sunrise.
Sunrise
Just
on the floor.
Yeah, on the floor.
God,
Fantastic sequence. Just
And the part's cool when he acts like he's calling the Undisputed Era down because Gargano kind of falls for it.
Yeah, he has the chairs.
Yeah, when the ref gets knocked out or whatever because Gargano jumps on the ref. And, like, there's a guy in the front row who you can tell he's got a Shock the System shirt on. He's a fat guy. And he's, like, bouncing off the walls waiting for Adam Cole to win just like I was. And you can see him in the crowd, like, just waiting for it to happen. So it was – and I think you get to a point, like, with about 30, a minute left where I started to – I'm like, he's going to win. Like, I could sense that he was going to win.
And long may he reign. That's fortunate it came to an end in the way it did.
We can do some honorable mentions now, Zach. I think everybody's list was pretty solid.
Yeah, definitely. I'll throw a couple in there. My list is basically just a big, long Gargano Lovefest, it turns out. Because I also have – I had Gargano Andrade, Ciampa Gargano. I have that house show. I have their ladder match with Authors of Pain, which I won't get into. The reason I have that on there is because the heel turn from a Ciampa on that was just heartbreaking. Like, when you rewatch it, you almost makes a man cry just seeing, like, the hurt and pain and Gargano's faces is, like, putting his head in his lap and, like, telling him it's okay, we can get through this. Like, oh, it's just amazing stuff.
I have DIY versus the Revival.
I was just about to say that because nobody had mentioned that yet.
Takeover Toronto. I mean, it for me, it came down to either that match or the AEW match was going in my 5. It came down to these two. Yeah. And I had to go, maybe the one's fresher. I just think the Bucks and Omega in a match, it's hard to pick against that.
If I wasn't such a Pete Dunne fanboy and I love Pete Dunne so much, that would probably be in my number 5.
I will say, Stretch, that the Dunne Bate match is a fucking awesome match, and it
really is.
People still talk like that match comes up in top 10s and stuff. So that's a legit good match. It's not just because you're a mark. That's a legit good match.
The crazy thing is, like, Tyler Bate had just turned 20 years old, like, before this match. Like, this dude was kicking ass at 20 years old. It makes me think, like, what the fuck was I doing at 20 years old?
I did not know anything about either of them. So that was the moment I started liking Pete Dunne, was that match. I'm not a huge Tyler Bate guy, but I did start liking Pete Dunne when I watched that match.
Sort of piggyback off of that, I forget which UK takeover it was, but in my honorable mentions, I had Bate versus Walter for the UK title because they had a pretty damn good match too. A lot of big man, little man chemistry. Bate, I mean, Walter's known for chopping the shit out of people and just murdering people, but Bate held his own against Walter, so I had that in my honorable mentions as well.
What about you, Jay? What are some of your honorable mentions?
One, I got WrestleMania 31. Brock Lesnar
here we go.
Roman Reigns.
The cash in.
Yeah, like the first 10 minutes, Brock Lesnar's just killing Roman Reigns. I think he did like 10 suplexes, 3 or 4 F5s. And then on the outside, he's going after Roman Reigns, and Reigns moves and he hits the steel post and he gets busted open, Lesnar, and that was like the turning point. And then Roman Reigns does like 3 Superman punches and 2 spears, and he gets the upper hand, and then all of a sudden Rollins' music hits. And I think that's the best, cash in that I can remember at least.
I mean, it is definitely the best cash in. It happened at the most opportune time. It happened at WrestleMania. I'm just more partial to the Dolph Ziggler one because it was really cool the way that went down. But
Wally and I love the Dolph Ziggler one.
I do think that the Rollins one was like probably the best cash in. Like when you're looking at it from a wrestling perspective, it was big stage, big moment. Dolph Ziggler, they waited till the night after WrestleMania, and I was at the WrestleMania where he could have cashed in. So me and my friend Joe were pretty upset that he didn't cash in that night. So that's good. Good call on that one, Jay. That's a great cash in.
Sort of piggybacking off of that, Rollins also ate one of the sickest RKOs earlier in the day.
Oh yeah. Another match I did is like, I don't know if it's an official match or a sanctioned match, but when Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson fought each other at the compound.
Yes, that was being the elite.
That match is so good. That is the best cinematic match I've seen this year. Right. That gets my vote. Fuck the Firefly Funhouse and the Boner Yard match or whatever the fuck it's called. Like, I'll take that match with those two guys. Good call on that, Jay. I'm
Very good
trying to
call.
find the shirt. There's a shirt for it, and I want the shirt. I missed getting it, and I want the shirt because that match was so fucking awesome.
Yeah, and when they did the whole parody again with the barber shop and
Yes.
stuff, that was just brilliant.
And
the way they,
it was a wrestling match. Like, that's the thing. Like, there was a lot of wrestling moves in it, so it was a cinematic match with a lot of wrestling in it, whereas all these other ones, just because you're punching and kicking somebody doesn't make it a wrestling match.
right, they're
makes the movie.
creative. They did a bunch of creative stuff, and the swimming pool and on the tennis court, and
Well,
when
and,
the
and when he
referee-
does the Northern Light suplex, like in the
Yeah.
grass, because then he did that on the whole football field when
The
they
stay
did
up
the
and stampede.
stampede. So
Yeah.
those two have so much chemistry too, like together as a unit, whatever. That's awesome that you put that in there because that match was so much fun. I'm glad whoever Eli or I think Stretch maybe was the one that told me to go watch it. Whoever told me to watch it,
I said,
I'm glad
as soon as it got posted, I texted him. I said, holy shit, go watch episode 200 of Being the
I
Elite right
passed it
now.
on to the other two
so-
on here, and you guys watched it.
kudos.
So-
Kudos to you guys.
Good call on that, Jay.
Yeah, really good call.
And then
Uh,
one more quick one: John Cena and Kevin Owens at Elimination Chamber.
That's
Wally was
also
gonna
on
put
my
that on
that's
his
also
list,
on
yeah.
my list. Thank you, John Cena, for making Kevin Owens a star.
And
Thank you for putting him over.
I got one more quick one, too, to throw in there, just showing my further boner for the UK division. When I mentioned earlier, I was rewatching the triple threat match, Shinsuke and Styles and Roddy from Survivor Series last year. It's because I was actually going to watch Pete Dunne versus Cole from that Survivor Series last year.
That match is really good, too.
Yeah, so one of my favorite spots from that moment is when Pete Dunne goes for the bitter end and Cole reverses it into a Panama Sunrise. Like, holy shit. Like, I when I tell you, I've seen that spot so many times, but every time I see it, I literally, like, get out of my chair. Like, holy that match is so good.
That match was the best match at Survivor Series, in my opinion. Like, I would vote for that match. I actually think that match doesn't get enough credit. They're always talking about because Fat Ass did this in this match. So it's always Adam Cole getting outshined by Fat Ass, and Fat Ass didn't do anything that cool there. So I'm tired of him getting outshined, getting picked on, even though he's a better wrestler. I'm just tired of him, having to take a back seat to that fat piece of shit. So I also have the Golden Lovers versus the Young Bucks, New Japan Strong Style, and on my honorable mention. That's my New Japan match that I have on my list. Once again, Omega and the Bucks are in it. So, I mean, Ibushi's really good in the match. Does it really matter who the fourth guy is when you have those three guys?
Yeah,
I don't know how
probably not.
much it matters. Like, you could legitimately have a jobber. James Ellsworth might look good in a match with those three guys. I don't know.
With his new hairstyle, he probably won't.
Yeah, looking metal.
Yeah.
I know Jay likes Ellsworth a lot, so I figured I'd bring him up.
That's why I sent that picture in the group chat today of Ellsworth has fucking dreadlocks now because I know Jay likes them.
I heard he's got the biggest dong in the locker room.
Oh, yeah, right.
I'll have the editor put up that picture up there for you guys. So
Looks like he's smuggling a Pringles can in his pants.
TMI. Don't really want to know how you know that or why you know that.
All right. Do we have any other honorable mentions? Are we good to move on?
Oh, just one quick one. I wanted to be a little different with the women's, and I went with Sasha and Charlotte Flair 2016 Hell in a Cell on Raw.
Sure.
Just to be a little different. I know Bayley and Sasha's the kind of the popular pick, but I thought that was really nice.
The common denominator there is Sasha.
Yeah.
Sasha, again, took some hellacious bumps in that match, too.
Yeah, right at the beginning, she gets power bombed through the announce table. Yeah,
I thought she fucking died so many times in that match.
Charlotte, we haven't talked about Charlotte a lot on here. Charlotte's really good, too. So Charlotte's
Absolutely.
I think that if the Bayley Sasha match, I think is just when it happened. I think NXT was really starting to get like that kind of helped propel it. I think that match had some historical significance too. I really think it did. Like it just helped propel the women's division in WWE period on NXT and the main roster. That match helped propel women's wrestling a whole lot more than I think people realize.
Yeah. All right. Last chance.
No, we're good.
Okay.
That was good. That was good stuff.
That was really good stuff. That was fun. So then Let's do it, guys. It's snare of the week time. Yes.
Matt's favorite.
Yeah, here he is. The cold sweat begins for him as he starts to panic. All right, scenario of the week. You were selected from a pool of millions and millions to appear on your favorite wrestling program in a televised segment, the details of which were kept secret from you. You are flown out, wined and dined, and treated like royalty. When you finally arrive at the arena and are taken in front of the crowd and the millions of viewers at home, the president of wrestling comes out before you, mic in hand, and finally reveals the reason for your visit. You have to take a finishing move from a wrestler of your choice, but the world is watching and waiting to vote on how much money you are going to make. The better you sell and the more suffering and agony and pain you're in by this move, the more money you make. What move are you selecting? So this week, we'll start off with the champ, JayBone. What do you got?
I didn't get all that. I didn't know the question with all that stuff. But
well, all I told them was that you had to take a finishing move. I like to add in little twists to make it a little harder.
So it's just a finishing move.
I picked the Hulk Hogan leg drop because it doesn't jeopardize my health. I don't have to take a sick bump. And if I'm fighting Hulk Hogan, that means I'm fighting in a main event. So,
yep, not fighting, just taking a move, and pain and suffering minimum. In fact, I even said last week, JayBone, do not call for a leg drop. It's an automatic loss. So the champion has been dethroned, despite the advice I gave off camera last week.
He did.
Oh no! Disaster. All right, so now we have a 1v1 Stretch versus Wally. So let's hear Stretches.
So if we're talking big money, big name person to take a finisher from, and it won't be that much of a risk to me, I'm gonna go big Mr. John Cena. I'm gonna go the AA, just the AA, not the FU, because the AA is a protected finisher. It's not gonna hurt me much because he takes care of me. He knows how to lightly slam a person on the ground. It's guaranteed that I can kick out of it, as lately with Cena, because it doesn't really finish a match on the first one anymore. Yeah, and in my notes I put, not the FU, everyone kicks out. He's strong and gentle, and it guarantees me a comeback.
All right. As long as you can sell it, it still looks good then.
Mm-hmm.
Wally, what do you got?
I'm going to take the where Sammy jumps over the ropes and flips on. I'm going to take that through a table because I've already done that. I've already had somebody thrown out over the ring and put through a table, essentially doing that move. So I'm taking Sami Zayn's flip onto me through a table because, once again, I have an edge here because I've actually wrestled. And I've done that move and taken it. I went through a table. So I'm saying I'll go through a table, essentially, because I've done it before.
All right. I like it. I'm going to probably give it to Wally this week unless Stretch can pull something out of his back pocket at the last second, or maybe JayBone, if you have any last words.
do we want to give JayBone a second chance?
Yeah, Jay can have a second. Sure.
On the fly,
sure.
Come up with something.
Sure.
Oh, jeez. Maybe a sleeper hold, you know? Maybe Jay Strongbow put me in the sleeper hold or Piper.
I think if I had to pick one, it would be a kind of like an Extreme Rules. So I'd have thumbtacks down and take maybe a pop-up power bomb from KO onto a whole bunch of thumbtacks. It's for money. The better it looks, the more money I'm making. So
right.
Is it gonna look like Ricky Starks is back afterwards after this week on Dynamite?
So be it.
Brutal.
If I get paid enough, I can fix it. It's all good. You know, we're talking 6, 7, 8, 9 figures. We don't know how much the audience is going to give you. But yeah, Wally's taking it this week. Wally, you are the champion.
I mean, like I said, I felt like I had the upper hand because I've actually wrestled and I've actually legitimately taken the move. So it's easy for me to say I'm going to go do this because I've already done it.
You're going to go through a table and win some money. I like it.
Even Jay probably thinks that. I know Jay thought it was cool when he's like, "Oh shit, you went through a table."
Yeah. Yeah, I should have got this. This was right in my wheelhouse. Hardcore and thumbtacks and stuff.
Yep.
That's right in my wheelhouse.
Your redemption answer was great, though. I did enjoy the sleeper hold.
Yep.
I took 3 table spots. So the first one, I got speared through a table, which was kind of bleh. And then the second time, I got splashed through a table. That was in my champ store. And then the third one was the biggest bump I took because Danny Danger got thrown he got thrown over the ropes onto me, and I was on the table because it was like a 6 tag team table match. So we used like 8 tables in that match because each tag team had to go through a table to be eliminated, and we were the last people to lose essentially. So,
did you say Danny Danger, as in appeared on ECW Danny Danger?
Yes, I did, and got destroyed by
Ezekiel
Kozlov,
Jackson.
and yeah,
that was hilarious.
So I have my moments. On the scenario every once in a while. This is the first one I won legitimately.
I was about to say the wifey didn't pull this one out for you.
She did not.
Yep. All right, so let's wrap that up, and let's move to wrap up the Wednesday War wrap up for the episodes that aired on July 29th. So we're going into this week. We have AEW up 2-0 over NXT. So let's see what we can figure out this week. Let's break it down. Who wants to start off with NXT?
I can start off. So just a few things from my notes. They finally gave Keith Lee an opportunity to talk like on his own. It was probably heavily scripted, but again, just didn't really do much for me.
Nope.
Except him cursing.
The fact that they bleeped his cursing, I get it. It's a PG company, but it just doesn't do much for me. It doesn't make me buy him as, a legitimate angry guy at Cross for what he did to Dijakovic. It doesn't really make me feel anything for Keith Lee other than the fact that, like, oh, he said a no word. Like, we have to bleep that. Like,
well, it felt way too scripted. It didn't feel like a...
Yeah, it didn't feel like it was actually Keith Lee feeling that.
Yes, exactly. It just felt like, here's, my marching orders from, the high sheriffs, and this is what I have to say, and they want me to swear. So
and then in between, he beats the shit out of Cameron Grimes.
Yeah, which...
Cameron Grimes was the best part of that segment, in my opinion.
When he got powerbombed, when he was at the height of the powerbomb, he screams, "Oh, shit," before he gets slammed.
I missed that.
As soon as I heard his voice, I'm like, oh, this just got better.
Yep.
And I admit, at first I didn't like Cameron Grimes, but he's completely grown on me to be absolute entertainment at this point.
So that was kind of an point in the show for me. Gargano and Strong match was the highlight of both shows for me. That was my best match of the week.
Same with me.
2 great workers, pulled out all the stops. I like the fact that the Undisputed Era is getting featured again. They're angry again. They're driven. They have a match for the tag titles this upcoming show, so I hope they win. In my notes, I put Yui is back. Screw Imperium. Swerve versus Jake Atlas was good, but I don't know where they go with Jake Atlas. Again, it's another guy. He looks good in a loss, so...
The women's match was really good, too. The tag team women's match at the beginning was really good.
On my notes for that, I put it was really good, and then it teased 2 feuds. It teased Io versus Dakota, and Tegan versus Candice was probably where they're going with the women. And the triple threat match, I know Wally was not a big fan of the outcome, but I'm very, very happy that Loomis had a good showing and Loomis won. I feel like he'll do good in this ladder match. I'm hoping he'll win the ladder match.
So normally I'm with you with everything Loomis.
Mm-hmm.
And had this not been for a ladder match, I would have been thrilled that he won this. But when I think ladder match, it's the same problem with last week with Thick Boy, that while I liked his showing and I like him, I don't think ladder match. I also don't think with Loomis, I don't think ladder match again. I mean, again, maybe this is their chance to shine and show what they can do. So maybe that's good that they're going to get a spot to show off. But I think Gargano and I think Finn Balor when I'm going to talk about a ladder match.
Fair enough. That was Wally's gripe as well with this. And he was, he said, oh, why is Finn Balor eating another loss? And to be fair, we still have a chance for a redemption, for 3-way or whatever. So guys that lost can qualify.
Right, but
Finn also did not take the submission. He did not submit to Thatcher's submission. So he looked strong still. Thatcher was the one that tapped or passed out or whatever.
Yeah.
Again, and you say that Loomis, you don't know about Loomis in a ladder match, but I think in this match alone, he proved how deceptively agile he is he did the Ricochet thing where he flipped over the rope and landed on his feet. Granted, he used his hands on the rope. Ricochet just did a full flip. He did that and landed on his feet. That looked fucking cool. And Wally will credit that he does do the kip up leg drop.
Yeah.
So there's potential.
I don't like his finisher, and I think this comes down to if I have to pick between Dexter Loomis or Finn Balor, I would rather see Finn Balor. I'm not saying I don't want to see Loomis. Right. I think it comes down to that, just like Zach said, if I have to pick between Bronson Reed and Johnny Gargano, I want to see Johnny Gargano in that match right now. 3 years from now, no, I probably don't. But we did get to see Gargano and Finn and the Undisputed Era. So we got to see all the people that we didn't see the previous week. We did get to see all them this week. So that definitely helped. I mean, that 100% helped in where I'm voting this week. So, like, seeing the right guys definitely influenced my opinion.
Also, one last thing before I shut up about NXT. I'm noticing a trend that might be worrying to you guys, but both of the competitors in the ladder match so far were in the NXT breakout tournament. So they may be trying to fully highlight new guys in that match, which I know you guys are kind of worried about. I feel like they'll throw one or two of the old guard in there, but something I noticed. Both Reed and Loomis were in that breakout tournament months and months ago, like probably 7-8 months ago now. But yeah, NXT was great in my opinion.
Jay, go ahead. You can give your NXT.
Yeah, I thought the opening match, the women's tag match, was really good. A lot of action. And then the second part, I don't know if you guys talked about this. Do you think that whole Adam Cole McAfee was that a work? You guys think?
Yes.
Or?
Oh
yes.
yeah, definitely.
Sure. Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was, but now we know it is. When Triple H is inviting him to come on the show, it's 100% a work. So I just am like, oh, sweet. Hey, Adam, guess what? We're going to put you in a feud with Pat McAfee. Woohoo!
Or if Undisputed is feuding with Imperium again, there's a chance that Mr. Walter may show up and they could do something with that. That'd be cool.
But if Walter shows up, I want Walter and Finn, damn it. Like, I really, if Walter shows up, we want Walter and Finn now. We were supposed to get it 4 months ago. We want that now.
Fair point. And then I just have a couple of quick notes. Of course, Robert Stone, fantastic. Just more of him every week. Let's just give him like good 15, 20 minutes every week, guaranteed.
Right.
Can we just call him Tony Khan Jr.?
Yeah, sure.
I'm gonna call him Robbie E.
And then
lately, this is the first time I've seen Imperium. They are garbage. I don't know what you guys think about them, but just like Walter. I don't like the other guys. I just like Walter. This is my first time seeing them, but I just
as a 4-man group, I like them a lot. But if you just do Eichner and Bartel, they're really underwhelming. And I don't know where Alexander Wolf is, if he's hurt or if he's not stateside or whatever. But just Eichner and Bartel don't do it for me. They're two bald guys who don't really have a character. They're just Walter's lackeys. So.
That's why they don't have anything to do with them. So put the belts back on Fish and O'Reilly because you know that people are gonna watch and people care. Nobody cares about Imperium. People care about Fish and O'Reilly. So I maybe Fish and O'Reilly are gonna win.
I hope so.
I've noticed NXT lately has been doing kind of like a movie montage or like not montage, but like a movie homage. Last week it was Rocky IV with Dijakovic's like, no, don't throw in the towel. I got this. This week it was Karrion Kross doing his best Jigsaw impression from Saw. Like, it's like, I want to play a game type stuff.
And he's like this close to the camera too.
Yeah, it's just real weird. This like NXT. Someone at NXT who loves movies is got bored and got enough power that he can sneak in some movie references, which I kind of find entertaining. It's just kind of an odd, like a 2-week segment that we had there.
That promo didn't really compel me. It just didn't. Like if Keith Lee got a script, I don't know how good that guy is on the mic with or without a script personally, but like Cross, it was okay, but it was still, we need more and we're not getting more. We're getting bare minimum with him still. So when you continue to give us bare minimum, when you get to the takeover, when the match is a shit fest, then you know why. Because you're not doing anything with them. You're just giving us the same crap with them every week, and you're trying to make me care, and I don't. I want to root for Karrion Kross because I'm never going to root for Keith Lee, and I can't even compel myself to root for him right now because I haven't seen anything out of him that really makes me care about him yet.
Yep. So, all right, let's wrap that up. Let's go to AEW. Excuse me. JayBone.
Okay. I want to go first on AEW.
I'll give it to you then.
All over the place. No consistency, all over the place. So we have a 10-man, that does nothing other than get us Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara, which you could have done in a tag team match. So we get a 10-man
match that was going to happen anyway too before Sammy's suspension.
Right. So we get a 10-man clusterfuck for that. And then for some reason, whether it ended up being good, half hour later we get a promo from the Inner Circle, which makes no sense at that point in the show. Absolutely zero sense. We get son of a bitch. But wherever Sammy is, we're probably getting entertainment. It just made no sense for them to come out and cut a promo then. Zero. It had zero to do with the show, them coming out and cutting that promo. We have a tag team feud with FTR and Omega, and they can't make up their mind what they're doing. They're supposed to be giving us a slow burn. They didn't do anything this week. They just kept it at the standard. We didn't get nothing. And then we're getting way too much of the Dark Order, in my opinion, right now. I don't really want to see more than one match. And the Dark Order is just glorified jobbers. They don't win matches except on AEW Dark. That's the only place Dark Order wins is on AEW Dark. So it was kind of all over the place. I don't even think anything really relevant. I mean, other than Darby and Moxley are going to fight, we didn't get it. Nothing super. The best thing on either show was MJF's promo. I'm not even giving my best thing to a match this week.
Hashtag not my champion.
I'm giving it to MJF's promo. Because that was the best. That was the thing I was looking the most forward to, and he delivered. He 100% delivered, and I'm pretty sure all of us are hoping on September 5th that MJF is walking home with the belt that night.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed.
He is the best heel in the business right now.
And that being said, how dare they do any of that promo picture-in-picture? That's a straight insult with the best thing that happened in the show, and him glad-handing the audience. They should have had that on TV instead of as the little, right beside the commercial picture-in-picture nonsense. That just was.
There wasn't a lot of bright spots on AEW to me this week. MJF was one of them.
The only thing that I really found even remotely entertaining from the actual matches was when Marco Stunt basically becomes Wolverine with a fastball special for our comic book lovers out there. So
yes, a human projectile.
Yep.
Here, you take him. No, I don't want him. You take him. Yeah, I mean, I shared the same sentiments as Wally with AEW, all over the place, up and down. We didn't talk about Sheeta and Diamante. I just put yawn beneath it.
That's why we didn't talk about it.
That's why we didn't talk about it.
Sheeta as a champion is underwhelming, but we do get a tease with Britt Baker talking about a mystery opponent that she'll bring up. I really think that it's going to be somebody I'll talk about a bit later on. So Wally alluded to that 10-man underwhelming, but we also got a promo for a 12-man tag match this upcoming week. Why the fuck do we need that? Cody and Warhorse was a decent match. I hadn't heard anything of Warhorse before. It's okay.
4,000 pounds of raw heavy metal.
Exactly. And then beneath that, I put Broski, Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona. Broski is nice, but where do they go with him after this tag match with Cody? He's just going to be another body. He's going to end up being a jobber, I feel like. There's not really much you can do with him.
I think I read he only signed a 5-appearance contract.
Oh, well, there you go. There's not much they're going to do with him, so it's underwhelming.
Why did they waste both new guys in the same segment, too? They took away a little bit from Warhorse by bringing out Ryder at the end. Where they should have spaced it out, so I thought that was sloppy.
And shoehorning the Dark Order in there, too.
Who could forget that we got to see the other Funkadactyl, too? I mean, how exciting was seeing Cameron.
Yeah.
As Nyla Rose's partner. So now you get annoying, not that great in the ring, Nyla Rose, annoying Vicky Guerrero, and terrible in the ring,
Botchfest. Yeah.
As much as I don't like Naomi, Cameron is worse than Naomi.
She tried to pin somebody on their stomach once. Yeah. And then one last thing, I put the main event was okay. Props to Starks for taking that tack bump, because if you noticed, when Darby hits him, the tacks didn't immediately go in his skin. They scratched across his back and then went in as Darby put all his weight down. So that props to him for taking that. As for the main event next week, Mox versus Darby. Darby's probably not going to win that at all. So another looks great in a loss for Darby. Yeah. And then where does Cage factor into this? Is Cage going to get a rematch before All Out, or does he fit in after it? This whole storyline is just getting muddled, in my opinion.
Yeah.
To me, Starks doesn't even fit in it. I think he's a piece of shit. So.
I agree.
His work in NWA was okay, but so far he's not making a great name for himself.
He looks like a dipshit. He's got that punch me now look on his face for me. And for me and you guys are going to find out over time that there are just guys that me and Jay want to punch in the face. Aaron Rodgers is another one that comes to mind. So
Steve Spurrier.
Oh, Zach's upset with the Aaron Rodgers one.
Don't hurt my boy. He's not going to be around for much longer.
Well, it's okay. You guys drafted his replacement already.
Me and Jay kind of joke with each other at times. We'll be like, okay, currently in the world of sports or wrestling, if you could punch one guy in the face, who would it be? Ricky Starks is close to the top of the list, along with Timothy Thatcher for me and Keith
Yeah.
Lee. So
All right, let's.
I'm voting for NXT.
All right, but yep, let's get to it. So the voting part, I also say NXT.
Yeah. As powerful as MJF's promo was, it couldn't save that show. It's NXT for me.
NXT, no doubt.
Oh,
Clean sweep.
Clean sweep. So NXT finally gets a win on the boards. It's now 2-1. So let's get to the last two segments we have. Let's start off with our like, comment, subscribe, but not prize from JayBone. JayBone, take it away. What not prize do you have this week? You gotta have something around there.
Yeah, we got a single jingle block.
Oh my God.
All right, like, comment, subscribe, and you may win the not prize
Lord.
of a single jingle block from JayBone. Once again, there are no actual prizes. And let's finish it off with my second favorite segment I have every week. I want my prediction from the prognosticator stretch.
Something I alluded to earlier when we got Britt Baker talking about a mystery competitor she's going to bring in. I think as problematic as this person is and has been in the past for promotion, she has family ties to AEW. So I'm thinking that this is going to be the first, if only, match of Tessa Blanchard that is going to be in AEW. I feel like we may see her brought in as like a powerhouse or a heavy, as an obstacle, kind of in the same way that Jeff Cobb was brought in by Jericho for that one-off match against Moxley. I don't think she's going to be there long term, but I think she's going to be there for like a big pop match, to draw viewers.
You would think though, if there's one place for her, you would think where her dad is would be the place where maybe he can get some control over her, since clearly nobody else can.
Well, she's had history with both brands. She was in the Mae Young Classic, which one of them I can't remember. She was in one of them, and her dad obviously is got a higher up position in AEW, so it's kind of up in the air. But I really do feel like you said, her dad probably could put in a word for her and say, look, she's crazy, but like give her one match, see how we feel about her.
And if she gets out of control, like bring her to me, and I'll set her straight.
Right, before you fire her.
That's what Tully's saying. I set some people straight back in the day, 1,500 years ago, when I was in the Four Horsemen.
I mean, and they kind of, I don't know if they're going to tie it in or if it would even be a good idea to tie it in, but how Tully has kind of been sitting in the stands kind of scouting people lately, how he's kind of hasn't been shown with Shawn Spears, or if Shawn Spears hasn't been shown, period, lately. They've kind of distanced those two from each other, so maybe Tully could manage his daughter. That'd be cool. So
at least AEW also realized that Lance Archer's a piece of shit, and he just sits in the crowd every week now. Wasn't that far off base on that one.
All right. Any final thoughts, gentlemen? So that is the show this week. Thanks everyone for listening and tuning in. And as always, if life puts you in a pin, keep kicking out that 2 count. We'll see you next week.
Deuces.